Hello there, welcome into the show. Can you sense the excitement? International break is here. Oh yes. Don't worry, we're not going to be talking a word about that today. Adrian Healy in the presence of Alejandro Moreno and Craig Burley. Lots to get to from the weekend all over Europe. Stuart Robson will be joining us to cast his thoughts over proceedings. We'll start in England, start in two different competitions. Just a reminder of how the top four or the top half of the Premier League looks at the moment. Of course, Manchester United and Chelsea wasn't a great weekend for either of them in two different competitions. We'll start with United, who crashed out of the FA Cup at the hands of Wolves. It prompted these comments from manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It was a big step backwards. That's the poorest performance since I've come here. A lack of urgency, forward passing and regains. I told the players the truth. We know we played well against Arsenal last week and didn't get what we deserved. We got what we deserved today. So, a couple of defeats in a row, Craig. A couple of weeks ago, it seemed to be almost a foregone conclusion that Solskjaer would be the next manager of Manchester United. We ran polls suggesting most people considered it a shoo-in. Is it a shoo-in?
Oh,
if
you think I'm gauging whether somebody's a shoo-in by a Twitter poll on anything, by the way, where 91%, I believe, of Man United fans, I suppose they were, thought he was, quote, a shoo-in for the job, which tells you what what the whole thing is about running Twitter polls in the first place. Look,
it's not scientific enough for you?
It's not scientific, and there's some very strange people on social media.
There you go.
What I would say is, look, it has been an incredible journey, and it's hit a bump. Right? There's no doubt about it. They've got Watford coming up in the league. They've got Wolves, who have been excellent in the league. I mean, Watford got to the semi-final, by the way, which Man United didn't. They've got Wolves coming up. Then they've got a couple of games against Barcelona. There's a game against West Ham. So it's a big period for them, clearly.
Yeah.
Not getting to an FA Cup semi-final was a big disappointment, because it was looking like it might have been a Manchester derby potentially in the final, and that would have been a big deal for the club. However, it's not how you gauge the long-term future of a club that's going to need a big rebuild with new signings. It's not to say, it's been a great 10 or 12 games from Solskjaer, give him the job. Yeah. This club's way too big for that.
Is it simply a case that Manchester United have been sailing so close to the sun that eventually the wings had to melt?
Well, undoubtedly, they were going to hit a patch in which results didn't go their way. And it seems that we're in that patch right now. What I would say, if I'm making an argument for Solskjaer, is the fact that I see what his reaction was, his comments post-game, what he says in the press conference, the fact that he addressed it with the players and then came to the press conference and said, look, we did not deserve to win. What we got today is what we deserve, because that's what our performance out there showed. That's what our team demanded of ourselves today in this match. I think that's a tremendous departure of whatever we had going on with the previous manager, where you could have had a player that's hung out to dry, to be sacrificed by the media and by the fans, because he just puts him out there and essentially says, well, it's this guy and that guy and this guy and this guy. He's essentially saying, you know what, we were not good enough today. Yeah. And that level of honesty tells me that there is a level of maturity to Solskjaer that is something that maybe makes a case for himself for the bigger picture. Now, I understand that there are other candidates out there that may be better qualified long term. But as of right now, this is the guy in the job, and I think so far he has done a tremendous job.
I know Rob was waiting patiently to get in, but he's done an amazing job, and I totally agree. Smile on his face, honest in his press conference. The players have responded to him, the fans, the club, everybody's in a great place. However, if this club does its due diligence properly, then it has to look at the fact he's never taken a club and taken it through a couple of transfer windows and restructured the team. Mauricio Pochettino. And whilst there'll be those out there who say, well, he hasn't won anything, he has restructured Tottenham Hotspur in such a case where they've been fighting for a league, which they haven't won. They're in the quarterfinals of the Champions League and they play hell of a good football. The only way I can see Solskjaer getting it is if they go unbeaten to the end of the season, particularly in the league, or the experienced candidates that are out there are either unwilling or unavailable and United can't get them.
But Stuart Robson with us. Robbo, the other scenario is perhaps they get knocked out of the Champions League by Barcelona. Perhaps they don't finish in the top four. Surely then those question marks become pretty strong.
Well, we're going to find out about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer now, and Ali's absolutely right. He responded, and Craig responded really well to the defeat by what he said to the press, what supposedly he said to the players. But I was doing the game, and I said with about 10 minutes, 15 minutes left, that performance reminded me of the performances under Jose Mourinho of 12, 13 weeks ago, where the likes of Pogba was making poor decisions and not recovering quickly. Martial didn't look interested in the game. Rashford was making some strange runs. Lingard didn't look as though he had the energy to break forward at times. They were caught on the counter-attack. It was the sort of things we saw from Jose Mourinho. Now, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has got to get the best out of these players from now to the end of the season. And if he wins every game, or does near to doing that, he will get the job. But I don't think he's the right man for the job. He's done a magnificent job. He's made the players happier. He took over from a manager that really upset everybody. But I think if you're looking for the long term, they have to go with somebody like Pochettino.
Well, not a great weekend either for Chelsea. Their defeat to Everton left them very much on the outside looking in. The race for the top four, Chelsea rated as 2-1 now. You can get behind Manchester United, well behind Arsenal and Spurs in the race for the Champions League spots. Just a few notes and nuggets following that defeat against Everton. No losses in the first 12 Premier League games of the season, 7 in their last 18 now. It's 11 times Chelsea have been scoreless at half-time, more than anyone else in the top 6. Only Fulham have lost more away Premier League games in 2019 than Chelsea, and 4 of their last 5 away Premier League games outscored 15-2. Maurizio Sarri saying, I don't know. The players don't know what happened in the second half at Goodison Park. I cannot explain it. We played the best first half in the season. We could have scored 4 or 5, and then suddenly we stopped playing. It's very strange. We didn't defend at the start of the second half. We changed the system, but it was the same. The problem was mental on the pitch. So the system and the tactics are not important. So it was all down to the players' mentality in the second half.
I think he's got the Europa League potentially to save his job. I mean, he's got the top 4 to save his job, but you know, the league form wouldn't suggest that they're going to get in there. So, you know, potentially with the draw that they've got in the Europa League, which is favourable, they could. Although I still see Napoli personally as the favourites, even though Napoli have got a harder tie to get through. The dynamics of this team are all wrong, I have to say, and yeah. Well, there you go. Slavia Prague, I mean, look, I've not been disrespectful, but they shouldn't be going out to the Slavia Prague.
Is this now their best hope this season, the Europa League? I mean, should they be throwing all their eggs in this basket?
No. You've got to go for both.
Yeah.
You got to go for both. You got to, you know, you can't just all throw your eggs in the one basket and then you don't get it. But I go back to the team selection, right? You know, the midfield, there's lots of problems in that Chelsea side at the moment, and it's not just the midfield, but the dynamics of the midfield have been poor since the early good start to the season, where it was a little bit false. Now, you remember back to the Arsenal game at home early in the season where they won, but really and truly had Arsenal taken their chances and they were clear cut, Arsenal could have had 5 by half-time. And I just think the dynamics in that midfield, and we go over this all the time, I don't understand at this moment in time why Loftus-Cheek is not a regular starter, and I still don't understand why Jorginho's in the team and Kante's not playing in a deeper role, and either Kovacic or Barkley play. I think Loftus-Cheek offers far more dynamism and guile and strength and power from the middle of the park than either Kovacic or Barkley. But it continues, apart from the Europa League where he played well, to be on the bench in big domestic games. And I think that you know, playing Jorginho in there in this league, in this side, is just not working.
Yeah. Well, we could have told you that the moment we started the season, but people fell in love with the passing and this and that and the other, and some of these stats that kind of, in some ways, cover a lot of the things that now we're seeing very clearly. And what we're seeing very clearly is that, of course, you want your best defensive midfielder, the best defensive midfielder in the world, and N'Golo Kante to play in his position. Well, what a novel concept that is. The other thing that I don't quite understand is, if you look at the way they have played in Europa League, where they have been impressive at times, there's been a lot of young players out there, including Callum Hudson-Odoi, who, for some odd reason, doesn't get a start either. Your point about Loftus-Cheek is a very valid one. The other thing that to me, frankly, I also don't understand about what Mauricio Sarri is saying is that I don't understand what happened after halftime. If only there was a person that could affect and impact how a team comes out of halftime, that would be the manager, wouldn't it? I mean, it's actually a referendum on him that after halftime the team stopped playing. as much as he wants to deflect towards the players, and I think they obviously carry a big load on this, you can't just say, well, they came out of halftime and stopped playing. Hold on a second. You are the manager. You spoke to them in the locker room. It should be your responsibility to get the team going, to go get results that you need.
Which is what Marco Silva did in the Everton dressing room, because they were hopeless in the first half, and they come out and clearly they had a kick up the backside. Let me throw Alonso's name in there as well, because sometimes you can't legislate for people making poor decisions, and his decision making and his performances have been dreadful. However, he's played his best for Chelsea in a wing-back role. Now, in a wing-back role, you generally don't have to defend as much as in the full-back role. So in the full-back role, he's having to make more defensive decisions, and he's not making very good ones.
Yeah. I thought that was your term, was it? The wing-back? Aren't you all over the wing-backs, Robbo?
Yeah, that's what Alonso was good at doing, playing as a wing-back. But there's three major problems with Chelsea defensively. David Luiz can't run when the ball's played down the side, and that space is left open because Alonso's playing higher up the field. He's not good in 1v1 situations, and they've got a holding midfield player that can't get around the pitch, so that's the biggest problem. And the thing that changed the game wasn't Chelsea not playing, it was the fact that Everton started to play. Everton did everything wrong in the first half by allowing Chelsea lots of time on the ball. Every team that seems to go and press Chelsea, make it difficult for them to play out from the back, have success. Everton didn't do that in the first half. They did it a bit more in the second half, and suddenly the game changed. Chelsea have got problems.
He didn't want to admit. He doesn't want to admit that it's not happening for him with a certain group of players that that he's brought in, particularly Jorginho. You can see they're favourites to win the Europa League. I wouldn't be rushing out to put any money on them.
They've looked like a different team on Thursday nights, haven't they?
Well, they've been playing
different sort of opponents.
dross, that's why. And whenever they play anybody half decent, with a brain in their head, they got problems.
7-4, that Chelsea lift the Europa League. All but wrapped up, don't they? 10 points ahead of Atletico after the weekend. You can only get 1 to 200 on the Catalans winning what would be their 8th league title in 11 seasons. Quite astonishing, but of course it was Lionel Messi, who else, that grabbed all the headlines. La Liga has but one owner, said Sport. A Barca 10 out of 10, 10-point lead. Messi's number 10, a 10 out of 10 performance. And then Messi, La Liga. Messi wraps up the league, Liga in Catalan, meaning to tie something up. Very nice play on words. His stats, more goals than games. Always a good sign, isn't it?
You think?
Yes. 39 goals, 18 assists, most amongst any player in Europe's top 5 leagues. Twitter reaction. I know you always enjoy some Twitter reaction, Craig. Aren't you all bored? Messi, 10 out of 10 every week, and the fact that he was applauded off down there at Seville. Real Betis fans were applauding Messi after his hat-trick. Did any of you receive standing ovations from the opposition fans?
No, but I had standing ovation from my own fans when I went off on a couple of occasions. I mean, like, because I was going off.
Yeah.
Get him off. Get this. It's no surprise, is it?
Yeah.
The Messi stuff. It's at this point where lots of Ronaldo fans get really, really angry with us because saying you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't be talking about Messi. You wouldn't be talking about Ronaldo for scoring the hat trick like you talk about Messi.
Oh wait, we did. Didn't we last week?
But we didn't give him enough love.
Oh, okay.
We give Messi more love.
Okay.
The thing is, whatever Messi does, and Ronaldo, to be fair, but whatever, as we're talking about Messi today, whatever he does not surprise me. I'm not shocked. Whatever we show today in this show or talk about with Messi, it's not a shock. It's just it's a norm for me.
Not prepare for that you cannot account for as an opposition player, and that when you see it, you just simply have to take a step back and say, well, he's too good.
Yeah,
he's too good. And that is the truth about Lionel Messi. He's simply too good.
Rob, I think it was Jorge Valdano who said Messi is Maradona every day. That's the difference. He just does it every day.
Yeah, and the great thing about him, he hasn't got super tricks. He just runs at the space that the side of defenders. If they overcover, he chops it back the other way. He's almost like a park player where he just knows where feet are. He can go past people. It's the sort of performance, again, that you see week in, week out. But he's not just a goal scorer. He's not just somebody who can run with the ball. When I've seen him this season, he's also been the best passer in the world. You know, and you just mentioned it there, 18 assists. He can pick out players' runs with that left foot. He can also play with the outside of his left foot. He is a magnificent player and has been and will be for quite some time to come, and still the best player in the world.
I'm being reliably informed by a producer. Of course, Manchester United and Chelsea wasn't a great weekend for either in the Champions League final.
I did
last
too.
week. You did. Yeah. You both did, yeah.
Stevie didn't.
It's a team game.
Right. Is it over? Right. Has that game been played? Have we missed it?
No.
Are both of them in the final in 60 loss? But I think what Stevie Nichols said, our colleague, Stevie said he picked Barcelona. If it was to be a Barcelona City final, and that's a big if, he was kind of 50-50 and he went, Barcelona. Why? Messi.
Right.
And that's how, I mean, it's not overstating it here, it's just how big it is. If Barcelona are having an average day but can defend properly, which can be a big problem for them, if they're having an average day but can defend properly, then if he puts on one of these performances, that's just a game changer. Absolutely.
Robbo, I don't think we've had the pleasure of indulging you in your Champions League predictions just yet. Talk us through your semis and final. Who's going to prevail?
Well, to get to the quarterfinals, I've gone with the favourites, obviously. But I've gone for Juventus against Man City. I think Man City are due a bad game, and I think it's going to come against Juventus. Juventus had their bad game against Atletico Madrid, so I'm going to put Juventus in the final.
Okay.
And on the other side, Barcelona with Messi at his very best to beat Liverpool. And when you get to that final, I mean, it's going to be Ronaldo against Messi, but I just believe this time round it's going to be Juventus' tournament. They've had many goes at it. I just think they're going to come to form at just the right time. They've got good defensive players. They've got to change the system when they need to. They've got a great squad, and they've got Ronaldo, Mandzukic, Dybala, who can all score goals. Juventus to win it.
Interesting. Cristiano Ronaldo's had an interesting
It's hard to argue with that,
few days, isn't it?
It's hard to, I mean, it could be any, but it's hard to argue with that assessment.
Right. Well, Ronaldo,
I'll probably be wrong.
Ronaldo, just to tie up the loose ends on him, awaiting punishment from UEFA after that inflammatory, shall we say, celebration after his hat-trick.
Passionate.
Against a passionate celebration. That's one way. I like that way.
Well, it's exactly the same as what Simeone did, I believe. I can't remember. I can remember the Simeone incident. I can't remember the Ronaldo incident, but clearly it's there.
Simeone did not get punishment, so the assumption will be that Cristiano Ronaldo will escape.
Well, otherwise it'll be hell to pay if they don't.
Yeah.
Well, they can't, can they?
Well, I don't know how
they could, but I don't think they will. And
it is Ronaldo, so anything's possible. But
well, they can't. I mean, you can't have for a similar incident not punish a high-profile manager who was caught on camera doing it. Yeah, and a high-profile player who's caught on camera doing it. There can't be one rule for one and one rule for the other.
Just to be clear, Simeone was fined.
Which I think is what will happen to Ronaldo.
Yeah. There's some talk about, was it premeditated on Ronaldo's part? Because it wasn't.
Who's doing that?
I don't know how you judge that.
Whoever's topping that should be locked up.
We will find out on Thursday as that
I can't wait.
Punishment is handed out. Hey, it beats Bate Borisov on a Thursday, let me tell you that. Juventus.
I knew you'd get that in.
Juventus, meanwhile, are second favourites behind Manchester City to win the Champions League in Madrid.
Dyke, but when it does go in between Barbel and Alisson, you want the goalkeeper to go with his hands. He's in the box, it's a header, so it's not a back pass, he can pick it up. I thought he lacked a bit of bravery there. So a combination of all, but the first person I thought that was at fault the most was Van Dijk.
Let's keep it between Van Dijk and Alisson. Who gets the biggest?
Well, actually, James Milner was come on to solidify the 3 points.
Right.
And then
that was his first contribution.
And then sliced the pass back. But look,
not so solid.
Robbo summarised it brilliantly. You know, when Van Dijk puts his arms out, he's saying to the goalkeeper, "You need to come and get this." And clearly, he could never have come that distance to get it, and it was outside the box. He wouldn't have got there. And to repeat what Robbo said, once he heads it back, he's got to put more power in the header. And to repeat what Robbo said again, the keeper's got to be braver and make a proper decision and go with the hands, because obviously he's headed it back to him so he can pick it up. So there's a bit of fault in everybody, but obviously for me, Milner starting it off, put the other two under pressure.
It's a clear combo package of mistakes.
Combo, I like
yes,
combo.
It's a combo package. But the one guy that could have done something to essentially erase the mistakes of the others would have been Alisson, that if once he decides to come out, he can clean everybody out, clear the ball or grab it with his hands, whatever you want. He does neither. He just kind of stands still and lets the ball play him rather than him playing the ball. I think Alisson, in the end, could have done a whole lot of favors for both Milner and Van Dijk.
Well, the win for Liverpool, but the dry spell continuing for Mo Salah. When you compare what he did last year, of course last year was such an amazing year for the Egyptian, but His goal production is close to being halved, 20 goals and 8 assists compared to 35 and 10 at the same stage of last.
Magnificent. He'll come good again. He'll be scoring more goals from now to the end of the season to put Liverpool in with a chance of winning both the competitions they're involved in.
That graphic we put up, right? This year's stats are great.
Still 20 goals in...
Last year's stats for him are astonishing.
Yeah.
For the Messis and Ronaldos, that's an average season. For him, it's astonishing. I don't have I don't have it to hand, but if you go back over the previous few years, he probably won't be at that.
Right.
And so 20 goals.
And that's in 39 Premier League and Champions games, so it's still better than a goal every other game.
You know, there's strikers around leading clubs in Europe would take that, and he's not a striker. I think the concerning thing, and whenever I talk to Stevie, obviously, who's got Liverpool close to heart and the business end of the season, he's more worried about his performances and his end product than he is about his goals return. But as Robbo said, he's making the runs, he's not hiding. The little things that were really coming off from last year are just not happening for him. The final touch is not there, the final pass at times, although that was a great cross and Munich was a fantastic cross. And like every other player, maybe he's just suffering a little bit of confidence at the moment.
Yeah.
And a couple of goals will bring that back.
I think what was clear that this is a player that is lacking a little bit of confidence was that ball that Sadio Mane placed into the space where he's now on his favorite left foot with everything to shoot at, unable to actually hit the ball cleanly. It kind of tells me, not quite believing in his abilities the way that he has in the past. They're going to need his goals. That's all I know. I don't know whether he's going to score or not, but they're going to need his goals if they're going to keep up with Manchester City.
Well, and that's exactly what they're trying to do in the Premier League title race, of course, ahead of them, but having played a game more, that 2-point margin, City with the +6 goal difference, and City very much the favourites to win it, according to the bookies. Of the show, we will have noted refereeing authority Peter Walton joining us. Sure, there's plenty of contentious decisions around the world.
Well, if not, we'll come up with some.
That he will be getting into.
I'm sure we'll dig some out.
We will be digging some out. Are you on tomorrow to give Peter Walton a hard time?
I'm actually off tomorrow.
What?
Never off on a Tuesday, but I've got games at the end of the week.
What?
The Euros are starting, so I'm off.
Peter Walton's smile is very wide.
I'll be here.
I'm sure he's going to get a hard time from the rest.
I'll be here.
Ali's got it cooking. Thanks, gentlemen.
Here.
We will see you in the company of Peter tomorrow. Extra time upon us after the weekend, dominated by the wee man, as you like to say.
There was only one man dominated this weekend for me, and he was from Northern Ireland.
Oh, well, he's a bit of a wee man.
His name was Rory McIlroy.
Mr. McIlroy.
I thought for a second you were going to say Mr. Peroni dominated this weekend.
Well,
that's not such a wee man. Mr. Peroni is a big man.
He may have played a part, a rather large part.
Stuart Robson is with us too. I bring up Messi because he's the subject of our first question. Of course, we've all seen.
Don't tell me. I've not seen the questions. I don't know. It's not who's better, Messi or Ronaldo, is it? Is it?
No, it isn't. But it does compare him to another player. But specifically, that third goal.
Pulisic.
No.
We'll let the cat out the bag.
The Eric Cantona chip.
Right,
the Eric Cantona chip in what was it? 95 against Sunderland. Mid
96, I believe.
96. Or Lionel Messi yesterday against Betis for the third goal. If you had to pick one, because you know what we make you do. You always have to choose one or the other. Which one was best?
I don't know.
All right. I'm going to take Messi's. Messi was going slightly away from goal, whereas Cantona was going towards goal. And oh, by the way, the goalkeeper had already come out, and there was plenty of space for him to chip it over the goalkeeper. Whereas this one, the goalkeeper wasn't as further out, so it has to be even more precise by Lionel Messi. There you go.
I'll do what Arsene Wenger used to do every after-match interview. I haven't seen any of them. I haven't seen it.
I know there's a slight exaggeration of the truth there, or a bending of the truth.
I like both.
I know you've seen them. I know it's hard to choose, isn't it? Robbo, forced to choose?
Well, I'm going to go away from Ali's. I think the harder technique, Ali's absolutely right, there was less space for Messi to chip it over the goalkeeper. It's a harder technique when you're actually running forward with the ball to get your foot underneath it. The ball was coming nicely for Messi just to hit that ball across. So I'm going to go with Cantona just to be awkward.
Was that the one that he celebrated by just turning his collar
and then
off? The celebration was...
Well, the celebration just was Eric Cantona.
He just stood there and turned his collar.
It was Cantonesque because he stood there and then it exuded arrogance, and he just turned around. He spun around the whole 360 as if to say, the king.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a terrific player.
I think what just got lost here is the fact that Robo picked Juventus to beat Barcelona,
Yes, he
Champions League
did.
final, and now picked Cantona over Messi.
So you
So
suggesting-
I put 2 and 2 together. Robo hates Messi.
I would have hated. I tell you what. Yeah, that's it.
That's the leap we always make
There we
on
go.
this show.
I would have hated to play. I would have just hated to play against Messi.
No.
But I did play against Cantona on several occasions. One of them was the FA Cup final in '94. The reason I bring this up is because he scored 2 penalties, right? And he
4-0, wasn't it? Not to rub it in, but
yes. 0-0 at half time. Does that count?
And then Mauricio Sarri gave the halftime talk.
Yeah,
That's
something
it.
like that.
Game over.
Jorginho, come on. That was it. He scored 2 penalties in that cup final, which was a huge deal back then, as if he was playing in the back garden with the kids.
Yeah.
The way he almost walked up to the penalties, and then just the ball hardly rolled over the line. The goalkeeper was away the other way. I mean, he was just. They're both incredible talents.
yeah. Robbo, it was interesting to see some of the reaction of the opposing players. I see some players were amazed at Messi's goal, points out John. Have you ever been amazed like that while playing, either by something one of your teammates did or one of your opponents did?
Well, Stevie Nichols. I tell you, it was. I played against Georgie Hadji. Do you remember him?
Romanian, the great Romanian.
He was a magnificent passer of the ball. He had great pace off the mark. He's a short, not dumpy. I won't call him dumpy, but he was a small, squat player. But over 5 yards. He looked a bit reminiscent of Ali at his peak, I would say, in terms of shape. And he just dropped his shoulder, went 5 yards, and went past me very, very quickly, and then got a shot away. And I thought, well, I never even saw that. So that was one time where I was amazed by somebody's pace and skill for somebody of his size.
Words that have never been used on this show. Reminiscent of Ali at his peak.
Well, what a backhanded compliment that was. Well, he was short and dumpy like Ali at his prime. All right, I'll take it. I'll take it. Yes, I'll take it.
Any time you've just stood there in awe?
I've stood lots of times. People went by. Well, I watched Zola do lots of things at Chelsea that were amazing, but the one thing that springs to mind, you were at the game.
Yep.
Oh, bit overweight apparently, but you're at the game. It was in 1998 World Cup, the opening game against Brazil, the champions, when we opened the World Cup. And they then, at his pomp, Ronaldo.
Yep.
I mean, I wasn't playing against him directly because I was on the right. Every time I looked round, he was beating 3 and 4 and 5 defenders and fizzing a ball, and it was like either the goalie was saving it or it was just fizzing past the post or the crossbar. And I was like, honestly, we were like, somebody's going to have to get this guy off. I mean, he was just, it was like at any moment he's going to do something that's just absolutely magic.
And somehow you guys almost got a result, despite that, didn't you?
Yeah.
3 minutes away.
I'll keep the Brazil theme as well. And I had the opportunity to play against Messi and Neymar and some of these other guys, but Brazilian Ronaldo at his best, playing against him was something entirely different. And the one time that I sort of been in awe of the whole thing was playing against Brazil, and on the field it was at the same time it was Rivaldo, Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, and you're thinking, it doesn't matter what we do today. We could be perfect today and we're still gonna lose 3-0. And they're just gonna walk off the field and and that's it. Fine, see you guys later. That's how easy they made it look.
Yeah.
They were holding hands in the tunnel before the game.
Yeah.
I don't mean they were linked. The Brazilians,
And
all those players, Cesar Sampaio, Cafu, Roberto Carlos, Dunga, Rivaldo, Ronaldo. The list goes on. And our manager came walking down and said, "Look at them." I can't repeat what he said. He's look at them. They're absolutely nervous. We were like,
absolutely nervous.
We used a different terminology. And we were like, I
don't think so.
I don't think so. We're just about to play. I mean, it's just, it's just talent. I mean, they're just. That was the World Cup where Ronaldo had the problem in the final.
Yeah.
Obviously, we were home by then. Quite well. In fact, we're probably on holiday.
I think I know the answer to this next question from Stefan, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Will a Champions League semi-final and a second place finish in the league be considered a good season for Liverpool? They had a Champions League final last year, didn't they?
Look, if Liverpool don't win either competition, it's not the biggest disaster in the world. It's a big disappointment, but these are tough competitions to win. So, you know, I'm sure there'll be some phoning in to British phone-ins if it happens on radio and say, sack Jurgen Klopp. Would they have missed an opportunity, potentially in the league, because they were late? Then yes.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. City are a good side.
Yeah.
Barcelona are a good side. These teams are good teams. So it depends how you would...
Yeah. So it's still a good year, it's just a disappointing.
Well, obviously you want a trophy.
Yeah.
But finishing second in a league with City, with the squad they have, and semi-final of the Champions League, I would be disappointed. But I don't know how big it... Do you think it's a disaster?
Would it be enough, Ali?
Well, I think even right now it's still a good season. It's just that there is the potential for it to become historical, for it to become great, and that's a big leap. In order to take that big leap, then you have to finish it up. But where they are, I think they would have taken the position that they're in right now at the start of the season. They would say, you know what, you're going to have a chance to beat Manchester City for the Premier League title, and you're going to have a chance to compete to go deep in Champions League. Here's the opportunity, and now it's on to you to take advantage of the chance.
Talking of legendary, moving on, Robbo. Do you think Unai Emery has made Arsenal a better team this season? ? Also, you're a legend. This is from Danielle.
I think Unai Emery has made Arsenal a better team this year. They've played some fantastic games. They're better against the top sides. We saw them beat Manchester United. We saw them beat Tottenham at the Emirates. They played very well at Wembley against Tottenham as well. They played well against Liverpool at the Emirates. So I think they're a better team against the big sides. They've still got one or two defensive issues, but I'm sure Unai Emery, with a couple of transfer windows, will get better players in that back line. I think he's done a very, very good job. I thought it would be almost an impossible job for anybody coming in after Arsene Wenger, because he's made such a mess of the club in the last few years.
So we've now found out that Robbo is actually on Twitter with a burner account, and he threw in a little question at the start as a little smoke screen, and then he waited till he got to the point. You're a legend. He's tweeted that in, isn't he? Little smoke screen at the start. Bosh.
He came up with the name Danielle Figoni as well.
Oh yeah, you got to really that. I'll throw the lads off with that name.
Rob, I'm going to stay with you actually first for this next question, because I know you commentate on MLS as well. Should MLS teams play on that 9 against 9 ridiculous New York City FC pitch? They were on national television again yesterday in the US here, Robbo, against LA, and it didn't look good.
Football's 11 versus 11. At some point, the pitch has got to change. It's got to be a much better surface, much bigger pitch. Not good enough at the moment. It needs to change, and MLS is doing a very good job. I know Craig would love me to say that, and we see some great games. But you need all the stadiums to be up to a certain level. You need all the pitches to be to a certain level. And I'm not a fan of artificial surfaces either, but on some of them, they're quite good, and we've seen some good games over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. No, I'm missing out here. Where's the 9 analogy?
9 against 9, because it's such a small field.
Or
it seems suited.
How many people play in a baseball team?
Yeah.
That's how many I think should play.
Right.
How many's in a baseball team?
Actually, yeah.
20?
No, 9.
Oh, there's 9.
That's actually, maybe that's where...
Go back to the point, and Robbo was being a bit sarcastic. It's the one thing that, with Major League Soccer, I think they've done, and I'm not nosing to anybody here, because most people that watch would know I don't care, is that the stadiums and the fan experience in Major League Soccer is fantastic now.
Yeah.
And that is one of them where it's not, from an aesthetic point of view and from a viewing point of view, all round. That's not, but the rest of them, the majority of them, are absolutely fabulous.
And it's starting to take its toll, Ali. I mean,
and that'll be the last compliment for the year. Get it out of the way.
First year or two, perhaps it was a novelty. They were getting bigger crowds. Now, 5 years in, it's a bit of an embarrassment,
5 years?
isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the problem is that it shows inconsistencies of those that are making decisions in the MLS offices, who, by the way, sort of make it a requirement, if you will, that you have a stadium plan in place when you are coming into the league. But that seems to change, depending on who is putting the plan together, or who may have a plan or who may not, and how we conveniently kind of say, NYCFC, no worry. No, don't worry about it. I know we're playing at Yankee Stadium. Don't worry about it. It's okay. We'll turn our back and pay attention somewhere else. Some of the things that we like about the growth of MLS is having a soccer-specific stadium. That has been something that has been said time and time again. Well, it's time for NYCFC to get to that point. When are they going to get a stadium? Who knows?
I'm not having it, by the way. You guys are lying to me. Oh, you're lying to me. There's more than 9 playing a baseball team, because whenever I see a baseball fight, there's more than 18 people come
that's
out.
a bench clearing brawl.
That's on the bench.
So all the rest of them.
Yeah,
There's only 9 in the line.
And the bullpen and other people that come in.
Right, so there's not 9 in a team.
well, it's 9
On the field, there's 9.
on the
All
starting.
right.
Yeah, it's a starting 9.
Starting 9, and then
Starting
so
11.
there's always.
Glad we got that sorted out.
Woo! Baseball 101 today.
So, I'll start with you first, Rob, on this. Since you're all former players, who's the best manager you've each played under? Robbo, you get to chew on that one first.
The best manager I've played under. The best manager I played under, for my preference, was Don Hay. He wasn't a great manager. He was an excellent coach. But he made me feel happy. I knew what my job was in the side. I would say he was the best coach that I played under.
Stewie!
And he was
When have you been happy in your life?
Not very often, I've got to say. But Don Howe was a good coach and an okay manager. He didn't have the success that he probably deserved.
And there it is. And there it is. I knew there was something coming.
It's a difficult one.
So Don Howe,
I've played under quite a few.
Glenn Hoddle, Rude Hullett, you had some big
he
names
used
at
to-
Chelsea.
Rude Hullett's not in the equation. 100%.
Zola?
No, I didn't play under them. Who was at Chelsea? Glenn, blah, blah. And then, I played under a great manager.
Craig Brown.
Fade his mic down. With Scotland. I played under a great old school manager in Jim Smith at Derby County. And Jim's renowned in the English game. He's old now and I don't think he's particularly well. But he had a reputation just for being a great manager. But I would have to say my time at Celtic under Wim Jansen, the Dutchman who played in the Cruyff era with Holland, he had something a bit different.
I can't believe you didn't bring up Bertie Votes.
Only played one game for Bertie Votes.
Only one? Well, that's enough.
And then I retired.
That was enough.
Yeah.
You were done with playing.
Well, that was finished anyway. It was my 46 cap and I was towing a caravan. And also, somebody linked the caravan to my back. And also, unbeknown to me, just before the game, somebody had tied a grand piano onto my back as well.
In that caravan?
I wasn't moving particularly well, so it was nothing to do with Bertie that I retired. But he didn't have a great time in Scotland.
No, he didn't.
Well, he should have been fired before he took a game.
He's not
because he had that German sense of humour. He arrived at his press conference and the first thing he said was, "You can now call me Bertie McVotes." And all the journalists were like that.
Uh-oh. We're in trouble.
This is the sense of humour. Fire him. Bertie McVotes. We're up all night thinking about that one. Ooh.
Oh, my goodness. Ali?
Well, I had a great relationship with Siggy Schmidt.
Of course,
yes.
Yeah.
My national team coach, Cesar Farias, fantastic with me. But I got to go back to early days, youth coaches. Guys like Carlos Ravel, who was excellent to me, and Pipo Rossi, who they got the best out of me, and they understood me as a player and as a person. There you go. They taught me a lot.
And we're still all working on that.
Yes, it's not easy. My wife is as well. It doesn't quite get me.
All right, we'll bringing the shutters down. Thanks for your reminiscences, guys. We will be with you for the next edition of FC, available on Plus. Hope you can join us. Peter Walton will be here. Craig will not, apparently.
Oh, wow. I'll be here.
Oh.